Hey team, welcome back. Dr. Harry here for another episode of Ask Me Thursdays, where I will answer one of your questions that's either given to me when I'm working clinically by a friend or a colleague, or a question that's submitted to me from my website, Medicine Revive. So welcome back. Hope you're having a great week. And the question we're going to be answering today is, well, how do you lead? How do you lead, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic crisis? And as physicians, friends, we are leaders. We are leaders by default. And many of us are unprepared for this monumental task. And some thrive, but many of us crumble under the immense pressures of being a leader, especially during challenging times. And friends, I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be that way. And we're going to talk about a concept called servant leadership that I think is going to be so important for you and your team, so both can grow. Both you and your team can grow with this mindset of servant leadership. So what is that? What is a servant leader? A servant leader is a leader who puts the growth and the well-being of the team first before their own. And why is that important? Well, you'll see, friends, that when you put others first, you will become well and the growth of your team will become well as well. Let me give you an example. I'm a very big fan of Simon Sinek. He's a New York Times bestseller, and he wrote a book which I highly recommend you pick up. It's called Leaders Eat Last. And as he was preparing for this book, he had interviewed a retired U.S. Marine General, Lieutenant General called George Flynn. And he asked him, Lieutenant General, what makes Marines so great? And without hesitation, he said, leaders eat last. Leaders eat last. And what does that mean? Well, in the U.S. Marines, when the Marines sit down for a meal or in the mess hall, the senior leaders always eat last, always. And it's this type of mindset, it's this type of attitude that the junior Marines see of their senior leadership, and that's the spirit of the U.S. Marines is leaders eat last. And what's even more amazing is this concept of leaders eating last in the U.S. Marines. It's not written down in any Marine handbook. It's not written down in any Marine procedure code. It just is. It just is. So we can take a page from the U.S. Marines and lead with a servant mindset. So how do we do that? How do we lead as physician leaders? Lead as a servant with a servant mindset. Number one, leaders set the tone. As a physician, you set the tone. It's your attitude that sets the tone for the day. Your patients, your nurses, and your colleagues, they all watch what you're doing. You must set the tone. You come in with a positive attitude, your team will have a positive attitude. There's no other way to do it. John Quincy Adams says it best when he says, if you can inspire your team to dream more, learn more, become more, and do more, then you're a leader. And he says it perfectly. So lead by example. You set the tone. You set the tone, and you'll start seeing such growth in your team. Number two is leaders have to keep their team safe. You must keep your team safe. You have to give them the impression that you are keeping them safe. And as a leader, you are responsible for the safety of your team. And if your team trusts you and they trust that you're going to keep them safe, your team will grow and you will grow. You will grow. Maya Angelou says it really, really well when she says, I've learned that people will forget what you say, people will forget what you do for them, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And it's with that attitude that I encourage all of us to have that servant leadership mindset to help keep your team safe. And finally, leaders lead by example. As I said, you must set high standards for yourself and live those high standards. And if you do, your team will do that as well. They have no other option because they see you have high standards, so they by default have to have high standards because that's what's expected of you, and they know that's what's expected of them as well too. So friends, as physicians, we are leaders by default, but we can grow and thrive within ourselves and with our team by having a servant leadership mindset. So please take these tips to heart and hope you're having a great week. Please have a great week and a safe week. Keep yourself well, keep yourself safe. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out to me. There's going to be a little link in the bottom as well as the blog that accompanies this video as well. So be well, be safe. What you do matters, and keep up the great work. We'll talk again soon.